Dzień dobry.
No, siemanko, witajcie. Dzisiaj przyjechaliśmy do Muzeum II Wojny Światowej, tutaj w Walencji. Dość ciekawe eksponaty są z tego, co widziałem. Ciekawa kolekcja, także chcemy to zobaczyć. Myślę, że chłopakom się będzie podobać, Antkowi również, bo wiadomo, jakieś karabiny każdy lubi. Jak widzicie, tutaj jest oryginalny Jeep Willys. Z czasów wojny? Nie wiem, się zapytam. How old is this Jeep? It's like from the war time?
1941.
41?
Yes.
No,
Willys Overland.
z 41 roku. Także full original. No słuchajcie, więc tak. Oryginalny Jeep Willys z 1941. W stanie do jazdy. Ostatni raz jeździł w maju. No bardzo podobny do mojego Uner Jeepa, nie? Jeśli chodzi o konstrukcję, ramy i rozwiązania zawieszenia i układu kierowniczego. No, popatrz się, synku. Także oryginalny silnik, no w zasadzie chyba wszystko jest oryginalne. Hamulce po remoncie, o nowe są nowe przewody hamulcowe gumowe. Z tego co mi tutaj właściciel mówił i zmienił świecę.
You're French?
Polish.
Polish.
No. A widzicie, ta lampa tak działa, że można sobie nią poświecić do środka na przykład.
The Katyn massacre that the Germans were being blamed, but the Russians were doing it. Katyn massacre in Poland.
Katyn. Yeah.
And Warsaw is the most devastated cities in the Second World War. The number two most devastated
Yeah,
city
it
is
was like completely.
Manila.
Second was Manila.
Number two is
Number
Manila.
two.
Poland, number one.
Warsaw was completely destroyed. O, świetna sprawa. Antek, podoba ci się fura?
Co to tam?
No, pokaż nam.
Go.
Your father?
I do not have the mole here.
Okay. But very similar.
Very similar. He was really my father.
Okay. So he was in the police?
He was once the chief of police in this town,
Okay.
and he was also the guerrilla.
Guerrilla in the. Okay. Because here the NEGROS was occupied by Japanese, eh?
Yes.
What about Sikihor?
Sikihor, there were also Japanese in Sikihor.
Because I'm a diver and there is like a sunken, how you call this? Landing craft, Japanese landing craft in close to Larena port. I did a dive.
They were defeated in Leyte, and they were escaping. The commander of Operation Gem, Colonel Susaku Suzuki, died in Larena and Sikihor.
Okay.
The 1931 grenade with a propellant. This grenade can be launched on the launcher of this, the same size.
Yeah, they look very similar.
And this is without the propellant, 1937. I had 4 boxes of the 1937 grenade, and that reads Sheryodan, bomb thrown by hand, so it looks like a hand. So this is the hand grenade model 97, 1937, identical with model 91, except that it has no provision for a brace propellant. Fuse delay 45 seconds, weight 1 pound. The 1939 smallest Japanese grenade. The detonators of the mortars. Here you can see 12 o'clock, that is instantaneous explosion. You can see an arrow going to 3 o'clock. At 3 o'clock, that is delayed explosion. And this is the Japanese, what they wrote. instantaneous explosion, 12 o'clock. Shown is delayed at 3 o'clock. And
Strain to move a heavy temple bell into place at a scrap metal collection depot. The bells, many of them centuries old masterpieces, were rounded up from temples all over Japan. For the weapons?
to be melted into the detonators.
Okay.
But the Japanese held all of this as very sacred. It once came from their temple bells.
Oh my God.
That Japan was bare of lampposts, bridge railing, park benches, statues, heaters from their buildings and their temple bells to be melted.
Cities of lampposts, statues, bridge, railings, and park benches. So okay. So they dismantled the cities also.
Yes. They needed all metal to be made into weapons. And this is the detonator. That is the safety cap.
Mm-hmm.
This is the detonator for that, and this is you can take a picture here. The Japanese markings on it.
Yeah.
They had to remove the safety
Cap.
cap before
Put the.
they can replace it with a detonator.
Mm-hmm.
That detonator is exactly that.
Yes, sir.
And when I found them, they were inside the cans. And this is a wooden wood where they put it there.
And it was and then to the can.
And this is
Okay.
the can itself.
Uh-huh.
So it was already decayed. So these are fun. That machine gun can fire 450 rounds per minute. And
450 per minute. Mm-hmm.
it is a modified Hotchkiss, 7.7 mm. And they had bullets that are made of silver, and it is filled up with liquid phosphorus. When it hits you, it explodes and
So like
burn
incendiary.
you alive.
Incendiary ammunition, eh?
Yes, they had silver ammunition
Yeah, you can see it's silver here.
filled up with liquid phosphorus. When phosphorus is exposed into the air, it
It burns, right?
burns. So,
Very nice of them, huh?
yes. Because they are not signatories to the Geneva Convention. They can do any foolishness just to win the war. That one on top, that is the fuel tank of the Japanese Nakajima airplane. Here on the right, that is the fuel tank of the Mitsubishi Zero Fighter.
Zero fighter.
The main armament of the Mitsubishi Zero Fighter was the 20 mm cannons. The Nakajima, the main armament for that is this, the 50 cal.
This one.
Yes, a 50 cal clone of the American Browning, M2.
50 millimeters, huh?
This is the airplane itself here. The Nakajima has a fixed wheel mounting. The Mitsubishi Zero Fighter can retract its wheels, so you cannot see wheels on there.
Okay.
Yes.
And this is like fixed wheels, eh?
And the Nakajima is still producing cars until today, and they call their cars as the Subaru.
Okay. So the Subaru company.
Mitsubishi Zero Fighter, they call their cars as the Pajero. And Dumaguete was the training area for kamikaze boy pilots, because the Japanese high command thinking was for every airplane one ship sunk, there will be no allied shipping that can reach Japan, and Japan cannot be conquered. But the boy pilots being trained here, age 14 and 15, most of them died in the mountains without their airplanes. because Japan's secret super ship, the aircraft carrier, was sunk off Tokyo Bay on its maiden voyage without the airplanes yet. So the airplane did not arrive here. You can see it here. The sinking of Japan's secret super ship.
Shinano.
In 1944, Japan's mightiest aircraft carrier was attacked on her top secret maiden voyage by a lone American submarine. This is the untold story of the Shinano by the man who sank her. Captain Joseph Enright, United States Navy. And nobody believed him that he sank Japan's secret super ship because he was the lone submarine in Tokyo Bay. Only his crew believed in him because they saw it being sunk. But the other submarine commanders did not believe him. That is the mouth regulator for the Japanese gas mask, the goggles for the Japanese gas mask, the straps for the Japanese gas mask,
Straps.
the filter
Okay.
1939 made of aluminum, the filter 1935 made of brass.
What about here? Like laboratory stuff?
The drinking water bottles for patients who need very clean water. There are still 3 underneath with the contents.
So this is like the hospital equipment.
Yes. The ampoules for injection, you look at that. The syringe, how big it is. There.
Syringe.
Oh yeah. Whoa. But the glass syringe.
There are only 2 needles because if it is no longer sharpened, they sharpen it and they just wash it with alcohol and continue the inoculation. The ampoules, injectable ampoules. And the blue bottles here, this is for chlorine for water purification. But 50% chlorine and 50% cyanide crystals, you can make the mustard gas.
What about
That's
this?
the 75 mm
Like
mountain gun of the Japanese.
So it's not the Canon
Cannon, mountain gun,
mountain gun, like
75 mm,
like small Canon, yeah?
small cannon.
All the wheels.
And at the front, that's another shot, the same cannon.
Ah, okay. This is just the.
Yeah.
Oh, katana.
Stop crying.
So it's also you found it here around.
Yes, the short blades is for ritual suicide, harakiri.
Harakiri, yeah.
But harakiri is a very slow and painful death. There is no major organ in your stomach to kill yourself immediately. You only die when you lose all your blood. But another type of harakiri is called seppuku. You have an assistant. You kneel down, you open your shirt to expose the stomach, then you disembowel yourself. When the pain is already unbearable, you gave the signal to the assistant to cut off your neck to make it less painful.
With the sword.
Because they cannot use the long blades. It is very far away to stab themselves. So they needed the short ones to stab themselves.
Yeah, short like this one.
The uniforms at the center with a medal, that's a Japanese uniform. You can raise the arm and you can find a hole on underneath the...
This?
To make the body breath.
Aircon.
Air cool. The first 2 is for the United States Navy.
This too.
Yeah. And the mannequin without the head, that is for the airborne.
Okay.
Airborne. For the pilots,
Yeah, leather jackets.
Vietnam War,
This is Vietnam War.
Tony.
Flyers.
War in Afghanistan, Second World War.
This.
Yes. For the US carbine,
For field manual. Okay.
for the grease gun, for the Browning
Mm-hmm.
50 caliber machine gun, Browning 30 caliber machine gun, hand and rifle grenade, rockets,
Mm-hmm.
the 81 millimeter mortars. I even have the driver's handbook for the battle tank.
Heavy tank.
It is very easy to drive a tank. Just
Yeah.
like driving a tractor.
Yeah, I think all these military vehicles are easy to drive because they are very simple.
Very simple.
Mine detector.
Mine detector, it precedes a tank because if your tank steps on a minefield, your tank is useless. You cannot move.
Yeah, break the.
And you're becoming an easy target. From the First World War,
Whoa.
from the American Civil War, and the Filipino-American War.
Amazing, huh?
Yes. And this guy was really not German, but he was SS
SS
from
uniform.
the Panzer. Black uniform. His son still has his black uniform. He got his first Iron Cross when they destroyed 14 T-34 Russian tanks without damaging any of theirs. He received 2 Iron Crosses, and that's an original Iron Cross from Germany.
So
The Germans really respect that.
Yeah, I know. Well, this is like the highest medal, yeah.
Highest award
Award. So
for
what?
bravery.
This guy donated for you?
Donations.
This is donations.
Yes. That this is an American spoon donated by a German. He found this in the Hortgen forest near Netherlands when they were going to Antwerp.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing, huh?
This is a water purification unit. One tube goes to the water source, the other tube goes to the canteen. This is the instruction on how to use this. And this is a pump.
Okay.
When you pump it for 1 minute, it fills that up.
The Japanese soldier who stays after the war in Luzon.
His name was Lieutenant Hiro Unuda.
Yeah.
Onoda.
Onoda.
He surrendered March 1974, 30 years in hiding and fighting.
Yeah, guerrilla.
And his place where he was hiding is now a tourist spot.
Yeah?
Yes.
But it was on Luzon or
In
later?
the island of this place here,
because I forgot. No.
prepared under the direction
Under the direction of
Commanding
the Commanding General
Army Air Force,
Forces
by
by the
Aeronautical Chart Service, Washington DC, April 1944.
The
This
map,
is-
original map.
Original map made of silk. That is Palawan and Mindoro. Here. Lubang Island is the island where he surrendered.
There he surrendered, Lubang Island.
Lubang Island, in front of Manila Bay.
Yeah. So close to Luzon.
This is Mindoro.
Between
This is
Luzon
the
and
tip
Mindoro.
of Palawan, and a lot of Japanese shipwrecks here. There are 5 Japanese shipwrecks
in Coron.
here in Coron.
I need to go there for diving. That's my target someday.
And this is the only break point of the Pacific, of the Philippine archipelago, the San Bernardino Strait and the Surigao Strait. This is where MacArthur landed.
Okay, so they can go
Yes.
from US here.
So when the moon is directly over Africa, the waters from the Philippines goes from the Pacific, comes into the Philippines. You see the red lines with the red arrows? That is where the current goes. So we experience the high tide. And when the moon is directly over Brazil, the waters from the Philippines goes out of these channels and we experience
Low tide.
low tide. And it is happening every day. Right now, the Russians are using the 152 mm. American is 155 mm. That's the exploded shell. You try lifting that out. Very heavy.
Shit. Yeah.
I already took out the detonators and the explosives here. So this is already... This has been fired, it did not explode. You have to hit the tip first to have the detonation. So, nothing. The rest, the two others, is behind me. No detonator.
No detonator inside?
Yes. But you have to crush this first to have the detonation.
Yeah.
So it must hit direct. But when I dig into them, I just see shrapnels of this, so I just think
So this is the load.
this is where they put the propellant. You see that? That is 1944.
Yeah.
1944? Yeah.
I think we can see this.
Because they load this first into the chamber. Then they put the shell, push, then they close, then they fire.
So
with
they
the
are
port.
they are separated.
They are separate
Okay.
because
Too heavy maybe together, yeah?
yeah, together it is very heavy, and they compute the distance. When they launch this, it will reach 18 kilometers.
Whoa.
The 105 is only 11 kilometers. That is 18 kilometers. And if the target is just 10 kilometers, they do not put the whole
Load.
the whole propellant because they compute the distance. If you put the whole load, you must make the turret stand
Yeah, like that.
to make it hit the target. For the mumpo, the mass wine,
So they are how old?
from the 18th century. Because the galleons only arrive here in the Philippines once a year, so they had to bring a lot of wine.
They didn't drink too bad?
They do not use the tuba for mass. A pilot is assigned on a certain place, just like Normandy. They are issued with a jacket with a map of France. That is already Dunkirk, Calais, Boulogne, Egypt.
Yeah.
Le Havre is
Whole map, huh?
Omaha, Gold, Juno. Yes. And this is already Nantes, and this is already Switzerland.
That's good.
And on the other side, that is already northern France.
You cannot forget your map, huh? Anti-malarial sprayer.
Anti-malaria. The Japanese is very afraid of the malaria.
Uh-huh.
But in the first Sino-Japanese war, they settled for peace. Most of their soldiers were hit by the malaria, so they had to stop the war. The first Sino-Japanese war. But there were even ammunition on that field. When it got burned, they were exploding by itself.
Yeah?
You can hear them, boom, 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 boom. The exploded shells. I have a lot. They were burned by the napalm, the jellied gasoline. Because no matter how hard the Americans were shelling the hills, the Japanese are still alive. So they were using the jellied gasoline, drop them into the hillsides, and the jellied gasoline goes by the gravity. So it went inside their tunnels and burns them right there.
So they also used napalm during World War II?
Yes.
I didn't know that. I
Yes,
thought
they
it's
were
only-
using napalm here. The area that they dropped the napalm, the monument that the Japanese had erected in Sagbang, if you start walking from that area, going on top of the ridge, you will reach the last part of it in 5 o'clock. You start at 7 o'clock. That's a 10-hour walk. The Americans were burning it with napalm.
Everything.
Yes.
Okay. So we're back to the guns.
This is the muzzle cover, 1939. Because when they are on patrol on a rainy day and they slide and the soil gets in, when they fire, the whole barrel breaks. This is 1939 muzzle cover. This is 1905 muzzle cover. And this is to remove the glare from the sun on the front side.
Okay.
And you can still fire because there's a hole to remove the glare on the front side. And when they're on patrol on a rainy day,
Put this.
they cover it with that. The M1 Garand. And this gun cannot kill a German soldier. This one, the Japanese. This is the Japanese bayonet. This bayonet cannot kill a German soldier because there is no blade at the front, at the back. The First World War cannot kill a German soldier because it does not have the blade on the top. So, in the Second World War, the M1 Garand put a blade under the top.
But why? Because of their uniforms?
The trench coat and the German uniform were made of wool, and wool is very sturdy. Just look at that.
Very thick.
Very hard to penetrate
With
this type
with this
of
type of
bayonet.
bayonet. Okay.
Without the blade on the top.
So need to be double-sided
So,
blade.
double-sided blade at the top to penetrate the uniform of the Germans. Very sturdy. The M1 Garand,
Garand, and this
the
is the
Japanese
Japanese.
Arisaka rifle, mass produced in Japan in 1905. 6.5 mm, 7.62. 7.62. 5.
Five. Well, lacking one. Okay.
Lacking one. That's also 5.
Garand have 8. Yeah.
Garand has 8 shots. And this is the only rifle for the Japanese Imperial Marines. When they shoot at aircraft, they let it stand up. That is the lead. When the nose of the plane hits this area, they fire. And when the fuselage is at the center, the pilot is being hit. When it comes from the left, they fire. At the center, the pilot is being hit by the bullet. This is the only rifle with the lead. No other rifles with the lead. 7.7 mm used by the Imperial Japanese Marines. The one lying down, that
This-
was burned by napalm.
Oh shit.
Melted. That is the plasma for the Japanese.
Plasma
Yes, you can still see the Japanese markings on them.
for the transfusion.
Blood transfusion.
Transfusion. Look, babe.
The
So-
2 flat bottles,
High temperature. The
high
glass.
temperature burned it and melted the glass.
The glass.
That is the same bottle
Okay. Okay. That's the napalm.
burned by napalm, jellied gasoline. In English, in Chinese, the rest is in Japanese. You can read the English.
Okay. Allied troops. The bearer of this pass is surrendering. He probably does not understand English, but he has been instructed to follow your signs. Treat him courteously
and conduct him to the
headquarters
by order of the commanding officer.
Interesting.
And when a Japanese soldier picks them up from the ground, he can understand what is written here.
Yeah.
To fold it along the lines. When it is already folded, he gets out of his hiding place. When he sees the American soldier, he puts this on his head and waves that he's already surrendering.
Yeah.
Because if he wants to surrender and brings the white flag or a white t-shirt, he is shot by his comrades. They are not allowed to surrender.
Yeah.
This is much practical than bringing the white flag. They're not allowed to surrender, so their comrades are the one killing them. That is for the airplane at the front of the pilot.
But it's like steady, you cannot
Yes.
turn it, so you just turn the plane.
It is synchronized at the turning of the propeller that you cannot hit the propeller.
Yeah. This I heard.
Yeah.
So-
Fixed machine gun at the front of the pilot.
Yeah.
So when a pilot dies, the driving wheel, they're slumped forward. To fire the machine gun, they have to push the driving wheel.
Okay.
So when they die, they are on enemy territory.
And they shoot
They're
it all the
slumped
time.
that their machine guns are still firing even if they are dead.
Yeah.
They only stop when all the ammunition are already used. That is MacArthur with Hirohito when he
Hirohito.
surrendered. And at the center, that is Hirohito himself. And at the front is the preserved cherry blossom, the sakura in Japan. The Voice of Freedom radio was a radio station that broadcasted MacArthur all over the Philippines. And these were the words he had to say when he was broadcast. People, this is the voice of freedom. General MacArthur speaking. People of the Philippines, I have returned by the grace of Almighty God. Our forces stand again on Philippine soil. Soil consecrated in the blood of our two peoples. We have come dedicated and committed to the task of destroying every vestige of enemy control over your daily lives and of restoring upon a foundation of indestructible strength the liberties of your people. Rise and strike. Let no heart be faint. Let every arm be steeled. The guidance of divine God points its way to the holy grail of righteous victory. And the Filipinos rallied behind him and killed more than 500,000 Japanese soldiers.
Shit.
You touch the whole blade. How far? That is very sharp.
Yeah.
And do you know the blade, the ones he used as the handguard? The one he used as the handguard? That is from the shell from 105 artillery. And the ones, the next to it,
This.
yes, the next one, that is the shell from the 37 mm. The executioner.
Muslim?
Not used for fighting. It is very light.
Yeah.
That
very
is to
light.
execute and touch the blade.
It's
How
also
sharp it is.
like a Muslim, huh?
Yes. The moon and the star.
So this is original.
Yes. Let me. Person to be executed appears, he is told to kneel on the ground. When he is, at the time he is to be executed, the executioner will approach him. When he is directly on top of him, broach this and put the tip of this in between the collarbone.
Ah, here.
Yes. in between the two bones. And due to the curved handle, pushes this straight down, killing the man instantly by cutting the jugular vein, the heart, the lungs, the stomach, the liver. Look at how deep it goes.
Yeah.
They just pierce it with the needles.
But you believe in this? They can do like this? Or
They can do it.
they can do it?
Yeah.
Like some kind of black magic? Like a
Black
voodoo?
magic, yes. So it is just like voodoo in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they need your body parts like hairs,
Your hair,
fingernails,
your saliva,
saliva.
your feces,
Mhm.
your fingernails, everything that comes from you to affect you. When they pierce the needle in your heart, you can feel the pain in your heart.
So you believe in this?
I believe in that, but there was somebody here. He was killed by a mambabarang. Yung that they gather the beetles from the trees and it will get into your body that your stomach will bloat, and when you die the beetles are going out of your mouth on your nose.
I heard about this also, you know, like
Yes.
but I think from Luzon.
It is just like the black magic
So
in the Caribbean. So there's a song about that.
so better
Black magic woman.
so better be nice to the people, huh?
Yes. So you do not make enemies with them.
Yeah.
They can harm you without touching you.
Yeah. And from the distance.
Wherever you take the feces, they go after it and get a part of it. And they mix it. Every summertime, to dig into the hills to find their fallen soldiers. They were hiring local laborers to dig for them. And when they can't find a remain, they let the laborers step aside, and they were the ones exhuming the remains so they can identify whose body is it.
So how many soldiers you found like this?
The Japanese stopped gathering the remains by 1983 because every year they come, they get lesser and lesser remains. In 13 years' time, they only found 60 heads.
60.
60. So when they stopped, I continued what they were doing. I hired 10 men to work for me, and I just gave them free snacks, free meals, and their daily wages, and everything found is mine. And in 3 years' time, I found 17 Japanese soldiers' remains.
In 3 years, 17.
1986, I gave it to them, and when I gave it to the Japanese veterans, I started opening the museum to the general public. That was 36 years ago today, October 24, 1986. You can read it here. '86, 10, 24.
24.
The first 17 sets of Japanese soldiers I repatriated to Japan on October 24, 1986. That is exactly 36
86?
years ago.
So they
Today.
exhumate them and send the bodies.
We exhumate them, and when the Japanese veterans come to get the remains, we cremated them. The ashes we bury at the monument, and the cremated remains, the Japanese veterans bring him home to Japan. And the first 17, these men were sons of Japanese soldiers. They were still babies when their fathers went to war. They had not seen their fathers. And they were volunteering to dig into the hills to find their missing fathers.
Okay.
Those in light blue are the Japanese veterans before we cremated the remains.
So but this is empty boxes now, or they are still...
There are still 7 of them inside.
Still 7?
The first batch, 1986 with 17. The second batch, 1995 with 7. The last batch, 1999 with 8. By the year 2000, they knew that they're being fooled by some Filipinos. The Filipinos excavating from cemeteries and selling it to them. That's why the Japanese generalize everything, that everything is just made in the Philippines.
Yeah.
But they do not believe. Generalize that everything is foolishness.
So that's why you still have the
That's
7.
why I still have 7 of them
because
left
they
behind.
don't want them, yeah? Because they think they are not,
No, they are not real.
not original Japanese.
Even if they did not receive any money from them,
There is still
there are still 7 of them inside.
Japanese soldiers' bodies there in these boxes. Come on, Dziubaka.
I don't lie.
Okej. Co, synek, co mi chciałeś pokazać? You want to show me something? No, popatrz jaki żołnierz, a? Tak. Ja jestem głęboko zaskoczony rozmiarami tej kolekcji i no i wiedzą właściciela. Poczekaj, synku, chwilę, tata coś chce powiedzieć. Antek się stęsknił za mną, bo cały czas nagrywałem i... A, rybki są? Tak, fish. Także naprawdę, no jeśli ktoś będzie w okolicy, to warto tutaj zaglądnąć. Big Mama Bam.
No.
A, okej. To były używane do bombardowań na japońskie statki. Zatopiły 4 największe japońskie lotniskowce. No. Także widzicie, no niesamowite zbiory i niesamowita wiedza właściciela, który was tutaj oprowadzi i opowiada fantastyczne naprawdę historie. Ja mógłbym tutaj siedzieć cały dzień i słuchać jego opowieści, ale Maryka już jest głodna, Antek zmęczony, także musimy jechać. No, więc właściciel ma na imię Felix Cata-al. So, Cata-al. Więc muzeum jest jakby nosi nazwę od jego nazwiska.
Okay.
Okej, idziemy jeść? Dziubaka? No, Dziubaka już bardzo głodna, także słuchajcie, no zachęcam was.
Soon I will be half,
Zaraz się zamieni w Halka, także musimy uciekać. Także no, obejrzyjcie sobie po prostu po angielsku. Myślę, że to jest prosty angielski, także myślę, że nawet osoby, które za bardzo nie znają angielskiego, no to dużo z tego zrozumieją. Myślę, że warto, nie? Bo kolekcja jest niesamowita i naprawdę pan Felix potrafi fajnie opowiedzieć na ten temat, także zapraszam do oglądania.
Let's go inside.
No i jak ktoś będzie na NEGROS, to sobie tutaj przyjedźcie, bo miejsce bardzo niepozorne na pierwszy rzut oka, a niesamowite. No i wiecie, dopóki on żyje, to warto tu przyjechać i posłuchać jego historii, bo no samo oglądanie na sucho, okej, no granat, karabin, tak, pistolet. Wiecie, no ja nie mam takiej wiedzy z zakresu militariów, a on po prostu potrafi wszystko opowiedzieć, co i jak, kiedy nawet były produkowane, w jakich latach dane karabiny, jak to było używane, czy taki zapalnik, czy inny, także no niesamowita wiedza. No i widać, że jest wielkim pasjonatem po prostu tego, co tutaj no pozbierał, nie? Poświęcił dużą część swojego życia na zebranie tych wszystkich eksponatów. No, także dzięki z góry za oglądanie. Pozdrawiam Was serdecznie i zabieram rodzinę na obiad.